Alright, it's recording. Just introduce yourself.
No, I have an intro, man.
Alright, man.
Hi, welcome back to SOS Podcast. It's Tyler here today, and not Shaolin, but straight off the plane from fucking Ecuador, it's Jose.
Yeah, Tyler's, I don't want to say best friend because I don't want to offend anyone, but I guess we've been really good friends since we were 16 and he was 17. Because we're not the same age, he's a grade higher than me, but actually, should we tell the story of how we met?
I mean, that could be a good intro, but
I think
we're this is episode 5, I think. So that's fine. Give a little backstory.
Okay, a little backstory of
this guest.
The backstory of Tyler, the elusive
That's gonna
host,
be the episode name.
the enigmatic host, Tyler. But anyway,
all about Tyler.
It was the second day of high school, and well, not the second day of high school, but the second day of junior year in high school, and I don't know how your guys. Sorry, I just came back from Ecuador, so sometimes my English is not very good.
You might say some just random.
Yeah, some weird. Sorry. But the second day of junior year in high school, I don't know how your guys' high schools were, but in ours, once you turned into a junior and a senior, once you were starting from junior year, you were allowed to go out for lunch, pretty much. That's what I'm trying to get at. And
at an undisclosed school.
Yeah, at an undisclosed school. You guys will never find out, but...
Well, on the Twitter it says Long Island, so Long Island.
Yeah, so just try to figure out which one. But I see this kid walking out, and I just go up to this kid, I'm like, do you smoke? And he looks at me and he said, yes. And we just walked to the back of Walgreens and just started smoking.
Yo, I'll never forget that shit too, Like I seen you a couple times, and then
it's the same, yeah.
I'm not the type of person to go up to someone and be like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" But like, if someone came up to me, and I don't know, I was just like, "This kid doesn't look like a douchebag."
Yeah,
let's go smoke.
Let's go smoke. Yeah, and that was it.
It became a ritual.
And it came a ritual. He was my lunch buddy. We didn't even know each other's names for like 2 months, and I had him saved down on my phone as lunch buddy.
Like, we were just those stupid kids that were, like, we were, like, separate from everything.
Yeah,
we were in our own little fucking world.
We weren't part of any cliques, and we hated everyone. And we just had, like, the same, like, interests somehow. We just liked all the same movies, all the same TV shows, all the same books, everything. And we both, like, fucking love serial killers and shit. So, like, it was just weird. And that's the thing, I didn't even know this kid liked serial killers until like 2 years after, like down the line.
It was just like, Ted Bundy, huh?
It was, like, you know what was the moment where we knew we would be friends? It was like the 4th lunch date, I want to say. There was these fucking faggots, and there was a group of them, and one of them was named Will. I'm not gonna say the last name, but his name was Will, and I just said, cause they were always together, and these group of kids, they were faggots. They weren't literal faggots, but you know, when someone is just so annoying that they're worse than anything, so you just call them a faggot, they were that. And this kid, he would always be with his 4 group of friends, like with his 4 friends, his group, and they were like male cheerleaders. They were the worst type of kids you can think of. They were just scum. And I once looked at them, and I just said, imagine if like they all just went home with a gimp suit.
I don't know.
You don't remember that
kid?
You don't remember that one?
My brain's all fucked up.
When we were going out to lunch, and there was Will.
Okay.
With his group of friends, and I just said, imagine if they all just went home, and we get things.
You're so non-subtle. You're like saying his fucking last name. I can't hear it though, but
you don't remember that? The gimp suit joke. That was like the first.
The
first joke I made that you were like. You thought was funny, and I didn't think anyone would ever find that funny. And that's when I was like, alright, this kid's gonna be my friend.
Right? You got it, like, from Pulp Fiction.
From Pulp Fiction, yes.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing you said. And you said the same thing too, that you were like...
It's just hard to find people that are like into that type of shit. Like, you know
into
what I mean?
into those type of movies.
And thinks, and like internally remembers shit like that and will reference it in everyday life.
Yeah.
And people just look at you weird and you're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's fucking hilarious.
And the fact that we have the same sense of humor.
Yeah. So that's how we met.
That's how we met. I don't know if that story was needlessly long because I can't speak English right now. So I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry that I'm not...
It was a great precursor to this horrible fucking story
episode.
we're gonna
Yeah,
say.
but anyway, we're gonna talk about Ted Bundy.
I have 2 warnings. This is gonna be brutal. We're gonna try to bring levity to these horrible circumstances and just joke around. We're just like fucking around here.
Yeah,
we mean none of this like to heart or anything. We're just having a good time with it and stuff. We both love serial killers. We think they're fascinating. We don't want to emulate them. But
yeah, of course.
they're just fascinating and interesting, and how cinematic their fucking lives are. Pretty much, just like it's crazy. But
yeah. I mean,
so that's the one
about
warning.
it?
And I had a second warning in my head and I forgot it, but that should really be it. It's brutal, not for the faint of heart. We're gonna really get into like this violence and everything he did. Yeah. So Ted Bundy, number 1, I had to do it for a serial killer episode number 1. This guy's pure fucking evil. Like the personification of fucking evil.
He's a quintessential psychopath.
Yeah. He is the best example we have of a wolf in sheep's clothes.
Yeah.
And I've been listening to his audiobook. I believe it's called The Life and Times of Theodore Robert Bundy. It's really excellent. They go really into detail everything and how insane his world was and like the madness and shit. But he said some crazy. I like wrote it down, but I don't have it with me. But he basically said, someone like Ted Bundy to humanity is a reality check. Like, people get comfortable, and they have these quaint little towns, and people it's like no locked door towns, like no one locks their doors, and they get a reality check, which is fucking Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Just comes in there, and
I mean, this guy
he's so depraved and sadistic.
He had like the entire American Midwest afraid for the
first
time
hostage
ever. Yeah.
For like, what is it? 74 to 78,
yeah.
4 or 5 years, and he could have been also killing earlier than that.
Yeah, police suspect that he probably killed within his teen years.
And another crazy thing is he doesn't have a name. He doesn't have a serial killer name. His serial killer name is Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
He has one, which is the lady killer. But
he's not he's not the Green Witch Strangler,
or like the Green River Killer, BTK, Jeffrey Dahmer, who's known as the Milwaukee Cannibal.
Yeah.
Almost.
Nightcrawler,
Night Stalker,
Nightcrawler, the X-Men, the X-Men. He's going around killing bitches in California.
I mean, he's German, so he might have killed a lot of people. You never know. But his name's just Ted Bundy.
Yeah, just Ted Bundy.
Did all his things just for pure sexual pleasures. He just loved it.
Vengeance too, and jealousy. I saw
he had a lot going on. He wasn't in a psychosis. This is what's so scary about him.
He was just a man without a moral compass.
Let's look at some other ones. We got Gary Ridgway. He wasn't in the limelight of law, of anything. He was just a truck painter, and he had a wife.
Didn't he have a family?
He had a family.
Was he the one who...
He was a normal person, but he's not putting himself out there. He's a nobody. He's like a no-face.
Yeah.
John Wayne Gacy. Yeah, he got up there in politics. He's another really fucking crazy one, but he was just a blowhard. People were like, that John Gacy is a fucking blowhard. He's such a show-off.
Nobody really liked him. Nobody would have...
Because he had to fucking think he was a man so
exactly.
Because he was doing all this...
He wasn't the type of person you would be charmed by. Let's put it that way.
Fucking little boys in the house on his side. He's got to feel like a man. Like, he's like... I can't wait to get into John Wayne Gacy. He's my favorite.
Really?
Man. 25 bodies buried under his house, with his mother living there for half of it. 5 in a river, because he fucking filled up his whole basement, or his crawl space, so much that he's like, I have no room. He's like, I thought about building a second story.
That's true. And they found I've seen pictures of them excavating the crawl space, and there's just skulls in there upon skulls.
And he's just crazy, but he was like a blowhard and everything. People liked Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
People thought he was respectable. They thought he was like he was extremely intelligent.
He was.
He had his life together.
I mean, he was in politics.
He spoke very articulately. Mm-hmm. Some people would describe it like a pseudo like British accent, like he adapted his British accent to American. But no, he's an American. But that's just and what was I going to say about the speech? So he had all these things, But on the other side, like on the inside, he was just like, he literally went to law school so he could craft a mask to put on in public.
That's why he went to he studied psychology too.
Yeah, so he can do this effectively because he's so hell-bent on this sadistic life. So we'll get into pretty much like the Bundy origins.
Yeah, this is just...
I'm pretty sure he was...
Bundy origins.
He was born Theodore Robert Cowell. His mother got pregnant by this just no-name guy.
Yeah, no one knows who his father was.
He left. Never saw, he just dipped. He was like, I'm out. I think he was a sailor. I'm pretty sure he was a sailor. But, at the time, in America, it was really, you couldn't have a baby out of wedlock. Like,
no, this was the 50s.
Like,
was 40s, 50s or 40s?
46.
I think 40s. Yeah.
46. So, you could not do this. So, what happened was his grandparents, she birthed Theodore.
Age of 16 or 17? Around there.
I don't know if she was young. She might have been young.
It was very young.
She was pretty young. Because November 24th in Burlington, Vermont.
And
so he was named Cowell originally, and then he was named something else, and then she met a Cowell. It was changed to Cowell, and then she met a cook named Bundy, and it changed it again to Bundy. So this kid had his name changed 3 times. That's one strike for his childhood.
I mean, he was raised believing that his mom was his sister.
And that his grandparents were...
his parents. Well, his adoptive parents.
I think he thought they were just his mom and dad.
Really? Because the last video I saw about the biography of Ted Bundy, they said that he was raised to believe that him and his sister, which was in fact his mom, were adopted by these two old couple. So
even if that's true, or if it isn't, it's still a strike against his childhood. So that happened.
It's like in Inglourious Basterds when what's his name in the beginning when he's talking to the Frenchman and he says facts can be misleading, but rumors. Yeah, no, but what was his character's name? I don't remember either. But he said facts can be misleading, but rumors, whether true or not, always lead to something. You know.
Mm-hmm. And like
it's very telling about how mysterious his childhood was, where not even he knew what was going on. You know?
Like he was just so lost. And
exactly.
So that's one. Supposedly he says nothing but good things about his grandfather, but supposedly he was really abusive.
Yeah, to his grandma.
And he had a fucking stockpile of porn, and Ted found it one day, and just like, you know.
I mean, later in life, well, literally right before he got executed, he would blame this porn
Oh my god, I'm so happy you have this fucking... It's such bullshit. It pisses me off that he's just like, oh yeah, I'll fucking confess so I don't get executed, and then he just talks about hardcore porn, which didn't exist at the time.
Exactly. He was just trying to blame something because he's just a psychopath.
No, you know what he was reading? He was reading Tales from the Crypt, Tales of Horror, all these like crazy
things of
comic books
women getting murdered and shit.
On the cover would be a woman being strangled in like a beautiful dress or in lingerie.
Exactly.
And what happens with these people is when your sexuality gets mixed with this violence and shit, when you're coming into puberty and the only thing you're looking at is this shit.
But I don't think anything influences anyone to do anything. I think you're just born like that.
It can happen.
You know, you're just born.
But for Ted Bundy, he had it in him. And
exactly.
All these killers have it in them.
They have it in them.
Shit.
Exactly.
But like Jeffrey Dahmer, for example, he was gay, okay?
Yeah.
He was gay at a time which he thought it was the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
So...
But keep in mind, Jeffrey Dahmer, when he was 6 years old, he was already cutting up puppies in the forest.
This is what I'm saying. So he stole this fetal pig one time from school. This was like his first sexual experience, he said. And the thought of being gay was so horrifying to him. And he just completely did not like women that he would jerk off to the fetal pig. Because it was in him to like that shit. He just had to find it, and he found it real early. So his sexual drive became mixed and interlocked with like corpses and dead things and just like inanimate objects, and he was fucked for life.
Yeah.
Like I'm extremely sympathetic for Jeffrey Dahmer.
I wouldn't say sympathetic, but...
Not sympathetic, he did horrible things, but the man was like living in misery. Like he was completely shit-hammered the whole time. He hated what he was doing. He just couldn't control himself. He was a pathetic human being and a horrible person.
He was a pathetic he was a pathetic person.
But Ted Bundy was a shark.
Yeah.
Like he smelled blood in the water and he would go attack.
He was definitely the apex serial killer.
Oh my god. Like, and he's in America. Like, it's just different in different countries. You know, you have like the Beast of the Andes. They're orphan boys. Nothing. I'm not saying it's just like they're much easier.
It is because
it's a different country.
If any of you guys know about Monster of the Andes, he over there, it's so much easier. Let's say, at the time, and with the culture, it's not like here where kids are just mistrusting of adults and don't go with strangers. This guy would just go up to little girls and say he has candy, he has some money, come with me, yes. And they just say yes. And this guy ended up racking up 300 or so kills, and he would just bury these girls in ditches, and no one found them.
Same thing in Soviet Russia. They, like with Andrei Chikatilo and
the professor, they're kind of a professor.
They would not acknowledge a serial killer because supposedly communist Russia, nothing bad ever happened. So they would literally ignore this shit on purpose, and that's why all these Russian killers have such high body counts. In America, a white woman
gets killed,
18 to 24 gets abducted and murdered and decapitated.
Everyone loses their shits, even from the 70s. You go any other country in the 70s and no one cares when that shit happens because they'd rather pretend it's not happening.
Back to all the other serial killers I mentioned. John Gacy killed construction worker, young boys. No one gives a fuck. They're runaways.
Exactly.
No one's looking for them. Jeffrey Dahmer killed gay black men. No one's looking for these people. They call them in the police field lesser dead. Gary Ridgway killed black prostitutes mainly. And just prostitutes. No one's looking for prostitutes. You know what I mean? But Ted Bundy's out there killing policemen daughters.
University students.
College co-eds.
Yeah.
Fucking, it's crazy. He had a girlfriend this whole time. He had a
married a woman in prison.
Yeah, married a woman, supposedly had a daughter, and she knew him before he was in prison. But what he did was, in court, if you do a marriage, you can do a marriage ceremony while the person's on stand, and it's legal. Yeah. So he's like, I can't, when I go in prison, I won't be able to fuck anyone. If I'm married, when I go into prison, I can have conjugal visits.
Yeah.
And I can't live without fucking nutting everywhere. So let me marry this fucking Carol Ann Boone, because she likes me still.
Because for some reason women like serial killers, because that actually happens a lot. You'd be surprised how many serial killers get married. Yeah, right?
But, so, against these things, against his childhood. So that happened. He's getting into these, horror things. He find out he likes bondage and, sadistic shit. And then a big thing happens to him. There's two different stories. Supposedly, he was looking through some documents in his house looking for something, and he found his birth certificate, which clearly says father unknown, mother was his sister, or that his stepbrother or cousin to taunt him and piss him off. Because Ted was very confrontational. He was super smart. He would argue mainly with Bundy, his stepdad, because he was a dumbass guy. He was just a cook. So he would be so intellectually superior to him that he just shut him down. And he would swing at him and shit because he would just get so mad because Ted was so clever and he was also cute as a fucking button. He never got in trouble for anything. He was just that's just me, little Ted, and oh Ted, but he's literally a fucking little goblin,
you can see what's coming.
But either way, he found out his mom he felt betrayed. This is a huge blow against his hatred for women and his view of women as just objects. This really fucked him up. I mean, what a pussy. That's really gonna... There's plenty of people who find that out. Jack Nicholson found this out. What did he do?
Yeah.
He turned it into the best acting career ever.
Jack Nicholson was in a movie called Chinatown where the exact thing happened. And then I don't know how long it took.
I still haven't seen that. I want to watch it.
I want to watch it too, but it's the exact same plot of Jack Nicholson's life, and Jack Nicholson finds out after he makes the fucking movie.
That's crazy.
Because in the movie, it's just
I already did it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's I acted it out already.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, this is a really creepy story too. His aunt, his mom's sister, woke up one day to Ted, I think 4 or 5, 6 years old. He put all the kitchen knives around her while she was sleeping, and he's just sitting there giggling. And she woke up to this. So that's the first case that something's not right.
Exactly.
They said he had emotionless eyes most of the time. Just black eyes. Just fucking no life in him at all. And his friends did say that whole him finding out his mom was his mom wasn't really his sister. He would be mad about it. They would remember talking to him and he'd be they'd just be talking about some shit and he'd be yeah, well, at least you know who your dad is. So it obviously fucked him up. I mean, I don't know why. Just people are wired differently. Certain things set them off.
It's his ego, you know. He was a born psychopath and a narcissist.
Yeah, of course. And so he grows up, goes to school. Everything's fine. He's a thief. He becomes a thief because they didn't have money, so he would just steal shit. Just a thief, a peeping Tom, always peeping, you know, looking into windows and shit. He gets to college. He goes to college, and he meets, I think her name's Stephanie. That might even be a fake name because they have never released her real name. But he meets this girl who was wealthy. Her parents were not famous, but they're wealthy.
Yeah, they were.
They were big people.
Yeah.
And he so bad wanted to impress.
And she
her.
was she the brunette? Because that's important.
The brunette with the hair part of it.
Exactly, that is important.
This is the beginning of that. He was obsessed with her. He was like, oh man, if I can be good enough to date her, and they did. They became an item, supposedly, but she always like expected a lot from him, and always like. She would, like, acknowledge that he came from nothing and he fucking is a poor and, like, he's a bastard, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, and then they broke up and that really fucked him up. But what's crazy, this is why it's like a movie to me, man, with his life. So, like, they break up, he's hurt, he leaves the state, he's so hurt from this. And, he, like, later on, he, like, tries to rekindle it with her, and he does, and he convinces her to marry him. And this is right before he went to law school. He went and learned how to correctly be a human, because he's a fucking, like, lizard.
Yeah.
And, like,
lizard.
So, fucking, he convinces her to marry her, and he's like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go back wherever he was living. And he's like, call me, and we'll like, talk about it more. And she's like, all right, cool. So he gets back to his thing. This is right when he decided, he's like, all right, I'm gonna start killing women, because I want to do this shit. I've been fantasizing about this. I want to do it. I know I want to do it. It would be extremely easy, all this shit. So she calls him, and she's like talking to him, and she's like, yeah, so you want to talk about the marriage and what we're going to do? And he says, Stephanie, I have no idea what you're talking about. Hung up, never spoke to her ever again. So he picked this over that. He could have married her, he could have finished law school, did the right thing, but this motherfucker's urge, he was just like...
And it was after law school that he decided to study psychology, right? That's where he mastered.
I think he did at the same time or during or before. It was all around this time.
Exactly.
This isn't like a documentary, this isn't the timeline exactly, but this is just off the top
of our heads. The life and
times
of Ted Bundy.
Yeah, so that really fucked him up, but that's when he turned. He was like, alright, I'm doing this. I have the right shit, I know what I want. So let's get into some early crimes. This will be like the first half. Maybe before he's arrested for the first time. I think that's what I'll do, yeah, I like that. Because we'll go. Is 45 minutes good?
Let's keep it at 30.
That gives me like 8 minutes. We'll just go. Don't worry about it.
Alright.
So in 1973, he confessed when he was about to be executed or whatever that he killed a hitchhiker in 1973. But, you know, if you look anywhere, it's usually started with Linda Ann Healy, who he broke into her house. It was like a basement apartment, and the key got lost, so they're in the middle of buying a spare key. So they just left the door open as a courtesy to anyone coming home late. It was like a bunch of people were living there. So he just walked in the middle of the night, fucking beat this girl over the head, threw over her shoulder, and left. And did whatever he fucking, took her to the woods. So he did that. He finally did that. And before that, he bludgeoned a girl, and I think he raped her, and Joni Lenz. I got a list of everyone here. He attacked her in her bed. He shoved a speculum, I think it's called, up her vagina. Like, fucking horrible shit, like an animal. So I think that was actually before the first one I just mentioned. He did that, and it didn't work, and he's like, I have to take her with me this time.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't die. Or he might have thought she died. So he takes her. This is his first outing into killing. You know what I mean? And he doesn't talk too much about this one, but he definitely enjoyed it. Like, he definitely was like, alright, this is what I want to fucking do. You know what I mean? And then Donna Manson, he abducted her. She was never found. Supposedly he burned her severed head in his girlfriend's fireplace. Like, he would take these women's heads and bring them back to his apartment. And, like, make them blow them and shit. He'd put, like, makeup on them and, like, wash their hair. And then he'd go up in the woods and just fucking...
Necrophilia.
Throw the thing. Yeah, the necrophilia.
That's something I would never understand, but that's something that these people have in them already, you know? They find out.
As soon as he strangles
early,
them, they defecate all over the place.
Yeah.
And he's smelling that, and, like...
It's gross.
It's disgusting, and he almost always... There's a couple instances where they didn't die immediately, but he almost always would just, like, knock them completely, like, put them in a coma with the crowbar or something. So most of them didn't feel... I don't know if they didn't feel anything, but most of them, like, they died quickly.
Incapacitated?
Oh.
Incapacitated? Decapitated? No. It's like it's means.
I know what you're saying.
When you're like less capable.
I don't want to say it
when
wrong.
like your capacity is diminished or something.
But yeah, he would render them fucking unconscious. And
yeah, that's the point. Is don't feel too bad. Don't
just broke the English.
Exactly. Don't feel. I don't know. At times it gets a little too gruesome, and it's very hard to listen and while you're trying to sympathize with these girls, but you know. What can you do with it? I don't know.
This is so long ago.
Exactly, and you know this guy was just a monster.
He was a cancer. He affected so many hundreds and hundreds of people. But so this is all in Washington. He's killing all these women. He gets extremely fucking bold. That's how bold he was.
I just said bald.
Bald.
Yeah, I gotta remember that.
Well, for one, let's talk about his MO real quick. Usually he'd be in a cast or crutches. He'd be trying to carry something, books, a briefcase. He would purposely wait for a young girl to be walking and go up to him, can you help me? You know, if these girls were stupid enough to be like, yeah, sure.
We can't even say stupid enough. It was a time when
it was a different time.
Yeah, people were. They had no reason to trust, you know?
And Ted was Ted. He was attractive at the time. He was articulate. Like,
I mean, I've met girls on the bus
nice.
and gone out with them immediately. You know, it's not the craziest thing on earth. There's no reason for a person not to trust another person
especially
when they're given a good reason
70s.
to. Exactly, you know.
So he would, get him over to the car, be like, "Oh, can you open the door for me? I can't with my arm. I can't turn the key." So they'd bend over and like open the car, like get in the car and start it for him, and he'd get the crowbar from under the back of the car. Just fucking one whack. He hit this one girl so hard that her earrings flew off and she flew out of one shoe. And then he came back the next day while cops were around on his bicycle, like waving and like, "Oh, how you doing?" and like collected him real quick and just like was on his way because you're such a fucking chameleon. It's so scary. Like, so this is how effective he was. He didn't, like I said, pick up prostitutes or people that no one would miss. He went to a beach. It was like a lake beach. Mm-hmm. In broad daylight, walked around with a cast on, asked, there's multiple witness accounts of them, of women that spoke with him that day. And it was the same story. I need help loading my sailboat onto my car. Can you come help me? And some women would just be like, no. And they just walk away. But 2 girls did. And the first one, Janice Ott, I think her name was, he went over there and because people were sitting next to her and said, "Hey, can you help me load my sailboat?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." And he goes, "One thing though, the sailboat's at my parents' house, so we'd have to drive there." And she's like, "Okay, cool, as long as I get the ride in the sailboat and meet your parents." And he's like, "Yeah, of course." So he took her, bludgeoned her, took her up into the woods, chained her to a fucking tree, came back. Was standing by this the bathroom, like, you know, at like beaches, like the big bathrooms, it's just like a big building that has both the bathrooms. He waited by there, asked multiple girls. This one girl, Denise Naslund, she was like high on drugs and shit. And she was right here, and she was Lake Sammamish. This is all happening at. She woke up, all her friends were sleeping. She's like, "Oh, I'll go to the bathroom real quick." You know, she meets Ted, same thing. Takes her up to the woods, and I think this is the one because there's a case of him killing. He said he had 2 girls alive and conscious, and he killed one of them in view of the other girl because he wanted to see like her freak out and like be so afraid and she can't do anything because they're in the middle of nowhere in the Washington mountains, you know, so far. Like, he would take them mad far. Like, his graveyard was in the mountains of Washington, or like the woods. So he did that in broad daylight, but he was an idiot. This is the downfall of what he did. He said his name was Ted. Multiple people heard him say that his name was Ted. He had the bushy hair. They did a composite sketch that looked strikingly like Ted Bundy. They knew he drove a Bug, a brown Volkswagen Beetle. And so this shit will come back to haunt him.
Yeah.
And so those are like the main early years. After that, he leaves. He goes to Utah. And I think I'll get into that in part 2 with Shaolin. We'll really go into his main murders. Like, he was on the run. Not from the law, but he was just moving.
On a rampaging throughout the country.
Literally would pick out spots for new victims. Like, he'd be like, oh, this Colorado skiing resort, I'm going there.
Yeah, I mean, even when this guy, let's say after this rampage and he got caught, even when he was breaking out of prison, he would just go out and murder people.
He went on a berserk. That's the only reason he couldn't. He had a fake identity and everything. He was all good. He just went on a berserk.
Yeah, I mean, if he would have
killed 2 women in one night and attacked 4.
If he was a smart guy, he could have gone down to Mexico or done anything to get you know, to safety and amnesty, but he didn't. No, he just had to keep going.
Yeah, and what was I gonna say?
You're talking about part 2 and what you're gonna get at part 2.
Yeah, basically, him on the run, him moving place to place, his arrest, his execution, his berserk phase, pretty much, where he did, because he got arrested, he escaped, he said, all right, I'm gonna get arrested again, and that will be it. Like, I'll never be free again. So he's like, let me go fucking do this and kill.
Was it after that time? Because he broke out of prison twice. Was it after he got caught the second time when he just admitted that he was a murderer? Because there was he professed his innocence for, I think, around like,
we're gonna get
10 years. It was a long time. And then
I'm gonna get into this, but I'm gonna say he was arrested for smoking dope and driving around at like 2 a.m, and they found in his car what they called burglary. Can't say it. I'm a fucking idiot.
Burglary.
There we go. You said it right. And you're a fucking motherfucker. Like tools for that shit, like breaking in the house.
Like Dennis from It's Always Sunny. His tools,
like rope and like a flashlight and an ice pick and like garbage bags and gloves and a ski mask.
Exactly.
So they had his name Ted. They had the Beetle. They had the brown hair. The description. So when he knew he was in, I think it was Utah. He was in the Utah because he got arrested, and some guy came in and was questioning him, and he's like, he said something, and he's like, well, actually, Ted, I'm in homicide. And Ted was like, fuck. And they said, like, he never played innocent or never asked them what they were looking for. He just, like, he didn't play dumb. He just didn't say anything. Like, they went and searched his house, and he'd be like, yeah, sir, well. Like, they're like, you want to defend yourself? Like that. Like, ask why we're searching your house or what we're looking for. Because he knew. He was an idiot. He fucked up when he got caught. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He got caught and I think he stressed too much. But that's it for part 1.
Yeah. Hopefully we can do part 2 next week. Hopefully I get to join in.
Well, we'll
see.
I think I'm going to make these separate episodes.
You want to do a Ted Bundy every 2 weeks or a serial killer every 2 weeks with me?
We'll find
the topics that we can do together.
No, they're going to be main episodes, and then there'll be 0.5s. Like, this will be 4.5.
All right.
And then Bundy part 2, which is the main Bundy part that I want to talk about.
Wait, 5.5?
It'll be 5. So we'll do like we've done 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do 4.5, and then 5, 5.5. And we'll do separate topics. We'll do different shit. Yeah. Like, this is a community, you know. Like, I'm bringing more people into this, but that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for listening.
Peace.
See you later.